Hello, I'm Jay, owner of Volunteer Audio in Oliver Springs, Tennessee, and I'm going to show you our new 2024 Harley Davidson Roadglide. We made this purchase very recently to go over and engineer and test and show you everything you need to know about new audio systems around these bikes. So many of you have went out and you love the body style, you love the new price, they've lowered it a little bit from $23, and so you've jumped on board and you've bought that new bike. You finally got used to the look. We knew a lot of you would not want it, and then with enough time, you decide to get one of these new bikes. And I think they're beautiful. They ride great, but they got two huge flaws. The stereo is terrible. Yeah, it looks cool. And then you go down the road and you realize you can't hear it. And the other one, the exhaust is just as bad. Well, we're gonna do a future video going over ChromeWorks exhaust options, letting you hear before and after. But today, I wanna go and dive into the audio. What we're gonna do first is I'm gonna actually pull one of the factory speakers out. I'm gonna hook our dyno up to the bike, and I'm gonna show you just how much power this factory 200 watt amp really puts out. We're then gonna go over maybe some speaker options. We're gonna tell you a little bit more about our new plug and play amp solution that's coming very soon, and along with the rest of our future video series on rear speakers and rear wiring. So watch the rest of the video. I'll tell you more about the audio in here, some of the limitations, and some of the current solutions that Volunteer Audio already has to make your audio where you can hear it going down the highway. All right, so one of the first things I wanted to do with this new bike, number one, all of you guys are calling and saying, hey, I bought a new 24 Roadglide or a 24 Streetglide, and I can't hear it at all going down the road. And I kind of thought you were being a little bit exaggerative. Maybe you had a great system on your last bike. Maybe you're comparing it to that. Well, I can tell you after buying a bike, it is absolutely terrible. It is so bad, and when I popped the grills off and I seen these, I knew we have the same speaker we always had in those 14 to 23 model bikes. And they were never great, but they were, I mean, you could hear them decently to 30, 40 miles an hour, then they disappeared. This bike may be quite a bit worse than that. So the first thing I wanted to do was connect the dyno up and see how much power does the quote Rockford Fosgate 200 watt amp have. And yes, I pulled the fairing, yes, there's an amp, and it says right on top of it, Rockford Fosgate. So that is the factory amplifier for the new bikes that are not a CVO. Now we checked the 500 watt Rockford amp out on a previous video with our CVOs, and a lot of people are complaining that it's not loud enough for them, especially with the stock Rockford speakers. But when we do the Hertz change out on those, it makes a pretty significant difference. It sounds a whole lot better than it did, but so many of you are still waiting for our plug and play amp solution for those CVOs. Beautiful part is that same plug and play amp solution that will work on those CVO models that we've been working on and we're almost done with will also go on this bike or the Streetglide version. But here I am with our AD1 amplifier dyno. It's made by SMD, Tony Diamore Engineering. This is the industry standard for testing any amplifier and seeing its output. We can do a couple different runs, but the one we worry about is our certified run. That means that it's less than 1% distortion, because distortion above that, just, well, number one, it sounds terrible. Number two, it blows speakers. It's really not usable. So we're not worried about the fake number that some people put on a box to sell an amp. We're worried about that actual continuous power, clean run. And so what I've got is I've got my dyno turned on. I'm connected to the front speaker output fed by that Rockford amp. Now this dyno is going to load that channel to 2 ohms because the stock speaker is a 2 ohm speaker. Now with it being 2 ohm, versus 4 ohm, this is going to produce 2 or 3 more watts probably than if it had a 4 ohm speaker. Normally we suggest 4 ohm speakers because they're more efficient. They don't put as big a strain on our electrical system or our amp, and we can stack speakers. So if we did lowers on this bike, we could do the uppers and lowers on the same channel without freaking the amp out, putting it in protect mode. So we normally are going to run a big enough amp load that that's not a big deal. And again, with the stock radio, with the stock amp, it's going to be very minimal, the difference from a 2 ohm speaker to a 4 ohm speaker in output of the radio. And I'll test it both ways here and we'll see exactly what that output is. But I've got my SMD USB plugged in. We're paused on track 9. We've got the volume all the way up. We're on the HD signature tune. That is from our testing the highest output on the CVOs. That is basically everything in the custom EQ maxed out. And I tried a couple other ones, because I'm kind of blown away with how little the power reading we're getting from this. So I've run this a few times without you, trying to make sure that I do a fair shake and I give you the most output that it could do. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to tell my dyno to reset, and that's going to set us up where we're at our lowest output. We're on channel 2 connected to the front speaker, and I'm going to unpause it, and we're going to see how much power we get before we clip this amplifier and hit distortion. All right, so we've got it on. Here we are, channel 2. Let's see what we get. Okay, 3 watts, 4 watts, 5 watts. It's now loud enough it's seeing our test track. 7, 8. All right, we hit distortion at 9 watts. We would expect that that 200 number would be peak output. That would put 100 watts at roughly our RMS output of most amps. If we divided that by 4, that's 50 watts a channel. But in our test, this is the top of the line dyno. I mean, 9 watts is pretty terrible. So let's see what it does if we back up, and let's go and do a 4 ohm run. So I'm going to restart our track. I'm going to pause it. Let's go and select 4 ohm and see what we get. Maybe the 2 ohms too much for it. So I'm going to hit start dyno. This is a certified run. We'll do a non-certified and see if we get any better. Let's unpause it. Come on here and check this out. So here we are, 4 ohm, certified run, channel 2. Let's see what we get at 4 ohm. Picking up our track, 4 watts. That's the lowest reading we've ever got off anything. I think the GTS radio for sure had more output than the Rockford 200 watt amp that's in this bike. So maybe this is distortion related. We hear a lot of distortion. So we'll back up and we'll do this test again. Let's go ahead and we've got it paused. We're going to back up and I'm going to do a non-certified run. What that means is that it's not going to care about distortion. It's going to keep reading as long as we can. So let me get back to that opening scene here where I get to pick which one I want. We're going to go uncertified, and we're going to see what it is uncertified, so distortion doesn't matter. We're going to do 2 channel. I'm going to start with our 4 ohm run, and let's try this again. So we're going to do a non-certified, any track 3 to 11. We're going to stick with the same track, track 9. I'm going to hit start dyno, and I'm going to unpause it. Let's see what we get this time. So this is uncertified, meaning this is the test it should get us our largest number. 3, 4. All right, we've hit distortion. Should still be reading though. Did we get any more? No, we stopped at 4 again, so pretty terrible. I want to show you, we don't have a dead battery. It's not like our bike is so low that it's not working. We'll get us reconnected. I'm going to run this test again. We're going to do it this time in 2 ohm. 2 ohm uncertified. Track 4. Or sorry, track 9. Track 4 would be for subs. I'm going to hit start dyno and let's run it again and see what we get. Nine watts again, so uncertified. Let's do dynamic power. That should give us our peak power of that amplifier. I'm going to go ahead and exit out. We're going to do that. We'll do it in a 2 ohm. Let's just get to the end and let's see if we can figure out a way to get any power out of this stock amplifier. 2 channel. I'm going to go 2 ohm. It's going to tell me now. Track 1 or 2. So let's go ahead and let's go to our dynamic power run. I think track 2 is what we want, so let's get this going. Let's unpause it and see how much we get dynamic. Again, let's watch track number 2 here. All right, so pulsating a 1 kilohertz signal. We have been able to get 13 continuous watts out of that left front channel. Now, some people would say, well, you got to load it. Well, this is loading it. There's a bank of load resistors in here, giving the same 2 ohm load that speaker would. This is absolutely the worst reading we've ever got off anything, and it makes it even more important that we get that new amp upgrade that we've been working on. But it's That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So let me tell you a little bit more about the upgrade that we've got coming up. Why it's not out yet, what's took so long. Harley has thrown everybody in the audio industry for a loop with this new radio. The Skyline head unit, it's an infotainment unit because it's going to give you the information of your tack, of your speedo, of all your bike info, and it's your radio at the same time. Awesome head unit that made so many of us go, I love the look, I love technology, I'm a tech junkie. So when I seen this, I was like, I gotta have that new bike. We jumped on board with the CVOs, and the first thing I found out when I started testing it was I couldn't find an amplifier in the radio. And when I pulled the schematics on the factory amp, we found out the factory amplifier got 2 data wires that they called A to B. So I started researching what is A to B, and A to B is this new technology where it's a digital signal, kind of like digital coax or even fiber optic, but instead of that, it's closer to our Cat6 cables we use for our computer systems. So it sends all of our audio through this digital data signal called A to B. A to B is just 2 wires. It powers up the devices on both ends, but all the cool features in the radio, like fader, balance, EQ, even volume, when you press the button and you volume up and down on this radio, you're actually sending an A to B signal to an amp, and the amp is gaining up and gaining down. There is no amplifier inside this radio whatsoever. Not low level for RCA, not high level to feed speakers. And we saw that on the CVO, and we wondered, is Harley crazy enough to do this in all the bikes? So we knew we wanted a solution for the CVO, but the only way to do that is one of 2 ways. You either take the factory Rockford Fosgate amp, you take the output of it that's going to the speakers and you feed it into a DSP, and there's some other people doing this, and I'm not talking bad about them. We've got to try to figure out how do we conquer audio in something when the parts we need don't exist yet. So they're feeding the output of the Rockford amp into a DSP. From the DSP, they're feeding to an amplifier. Now, I don't know if you've looked in the fairing, there's very, very little room. So you can't fit a large amp because there's no room to do that, and even the small amp, by the time you keep the Rockford amp, the DSP, your new larger amplifier, you're not cutting and modifying things in the fairing to make them fit. We all want to come up with a plug-and-play solution. We want something so much better. And as you see, 9 watts is terrible. There's no way that that's sufficient. And your CVO guys that spent 50 grand on a bike, they're getting 70, 75 watts per channel to the speakers, and we're used to well over 100. It's really, really terrible. Well, so we have been working diligently to come up with an A to B interface, because here's what we found. When you grab the signal out of the Rockford amp, it's distorted, it's dirty, it has a ton of floor noise, and if you'll listen to videos of other systems where they've decided to put a DSP after the Rockford amp, listen for the shh, the ground noise, the engine noise, what we were going to call electrical floor noise, magnified multiple times. We got a super clean digital signal, but after it goes into the Rockford amp and it comes out and it goes into the DSP and it comes out and it goes into the other amp, now all of our tweeters are whining at us, and you got this crazy hiss that you can even hear with the music playing. So after our test, we decided, as easy as it would be to build a system like that, send it to you, tell you to chop things up in your fairing and have speakers that hiss. We're not doing it that way. That's not the right way. It's not the way we want to do it. And on top of that, the Rockford amps are failing like crazy. So many people have had sound issues out of them not working. So we found the right engineers, people who understood A to B, who had worked on these projects before, and we sent our CVO Streetglide to them, and they've built us a full A to B interface, and it's a fancy little box. It's really a digital signal processor known as a DSP that takes all the information from this radio, and when you volume up and down, it gains up and down its internal power that comes out to our RCAs. We've actually got a clean 5-volt RCA output. It's already built. When you volume up and down, it goes up and down. When you fade or balance, it works. But on top of that, the DSP in it, we get to tune. We get to set it perfectly for the speakers and the amps we're running. And when we select the different EQ in the radio, it selects a different preset in our DSP that's inside of our A to B interface. So we've been working hard. We've spent a lot of money. We've spent a lot of time going back and forth. I've been without a bike now for a month and a half or longer while we've just been doing the programming in it. But we're so close to showing you, and we'll do it real soon in another video, our solution. Our solution's completely plug and play. The Rockford amp leaves, whether it's the 200 watt or the 500 watt, you don't need it for our solution. We're going to plug directly into the factory harness. We're going to take the A to B signal and interpret it, and we're going to have a clean clear signal going into our amp, so we don't have a hiss, we don't have a hum, we don't have problems. But on top of that, we're using that Hertz SP 4.900 amp. So we have 1,000 watts of RMS power. We've already tested that amp. We get 190 to 290 RMS watts, not 9 watts like you just saw here. And we're so excited about it. It's coming very, very soon. Please hold out and wait on it. Don't do it the wrong way. Don't cut your bike up. Don't be dissatisfied with all the weird noises you're going to get from doing it the wrong way. It's close. With that being said, we're going to do a video series real soon, and I'm going to show you how to take out that terrible factory speaker, how to upgrade to the Hertz SX165 Neo. That's the speaker our amp is going to be built to run, but it's also the most efficient speaker that you can buy. And by upgrading to it now, you're going to have better sound till our amp comes out. Now 9 watts, nothing's going to sound amazing on 9 watts, but it's going to sound a lot better than what you have now. And you're not going to have to start over later, and that's our plan. I got another video where I'm going to show you how to add the rear speaker wiring. There's already factory wiring run to under the seat. I'm going to show you our solution, how it pins in. Right now, the only solution for rear speakers is new lids bought at Harley, but we do have the already modified Hertz SX690 Neos that drop right into those lids. And we're working on getting those lids in every color in stock at Volunteer Audio so we can sell you a package with the rear harness, the rear speakers, the rear lids. It's all coming soon, and every one of these things are going to be laid out in video. I'm really excited about the new amp because there may be quite some time that Volunteer Audio not only has the right solution, but we're the only place with the correct solution to fit this in your fairing, all plug and play, and not cut up and void your warranties. Don't doubt it. You start cutting in that fairing and removing tabs and making room, you're voiding the warranty on your brand new bike. We don't want to see that happen. All right, thank you for watching. This thing is terrible, and now I know why. We'll do some sound clips on the next video letting you hear what it sounds like before and after as we upgrade the front speakers. And I'm very excited very, very soon to show you just how amazing that new amp is when we change it out. Now, one fair warning. There's 2 things I want to warn you about. First off, SX165 Neos, they're going to be the lowest price at volunteeraudio.com. And the warning is there are a couple companies out there that are having counterfeit speakers made, selling them through Amazon and eBay, and they're fakes. They're not the real deal. If you buy those at a lower price, you're going to find out later on that you got ripped off. So you want to buy from an authorized dealer. You don't have to buy from Volunteer Audio, but I guarantee you when you buy from us, we're always going to sell at the lowest authorized price. We're going to give you free shipping. There's not going to be sales tax if it ships outside of Tennessee, and you're going to have the best warranty and the best customer support in the industry by buying from us. We're also going to engineer a whole system around those speakers, and I hope that you decide those are the ones you need for your bike because it's going to make it sound a lot better. Keep watching our future videos as we lay out even more about our solutions. The right way is coming. Please be patient. Don't blow your money on the wrong way. All right, like this video. It's going to help us move up in search results. Like this post if you're watching us on Facebook. That helps keep you engaged, helps you see future things that we do. Also, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Both of those things are going to help you see the new content as it comes out related to your bike. We'd love to share more with you. We're going to give you our knowledge for free. We appreciate any support you do with us in business, and we'll make sure when you do that you always get the best value. Thank you so much for watching us, and as always, God bless.